want to welcome everybody to today's broadcast. My name is Robert Freeman. I am the NatGen AHCP trainer on the Medicare side. However, I get the pleasurable honor of hanging out with the AHCP folks every Monday and just kind of kicking the week off on a really positive, a really motivating note. Got some really good material that we're going to cover today, so I want to let everybody know that it's going to be jam-packed full of some really good information. We're going to begin a new sales series today, so it's going to be some good stuff. So I want to welcome everybody to the broadcast. Quick couple housekeeping notes. If this is your first time joining us, just know that I do have everybody muted. If you do have any questions, or if you run into any issues, or if you just want to raise your hand, definitely utilize you can utilize the dashboard, the questions area, the chat area, anything that you like to use with inside of the webinar. I'm monitoring actively. If you are just joining us via phone, just unfortunately, I do have everybody muted, but if you do happen to have an issue, you can always reach out to me post the webinar as well too, and let me know. But again, welcome everybody. It is February 4th, 2019. It is Motivation Monday. Just want to really quickly start with today's quote to get everybody kind of started off on the right foot, and just always remember this. It really kind of ties in with this week's and this morning's lesson, is that getting no message at all is also a message. So it's really kind of a multi-layered quote in and of itself. But in my opinion, it actually is really motivating, because sometimes you need a gentle reminder to let everybody know that, sometimes if you don't really think that you're giving out a message, it can be actually putting something out into the stratosphere that could be negative, could be positive, but just always remember that you want to make sure that you live purposefully with a direction of an actual area that you're going, especially within the sales area. You have to be going through a proper step process, a proper direction process to get the sale moving towards the end goal, which that ultimate end goal is, yes, let's sign up, of course, right? And that's actually going to be what today's lesson is, that we're going to be touching on, as ways that you can continue to keep that moving forward. So going to have some really good comments and really good information I'm going to share with everybody. So if you are new to the series, this is Motivation Monday. I'm actually utilizing this as Motivation Monday 2.0. It's about this second year that we've been doing this. So it's been going on for quite some time, but in the format that it's in now, I've really kind of taken it upon myself this year for 2019 to really kind of give this series some new life. We're going to be breathing in a lot of different aspects to the series as the weeks go on. And again, we'll touch a little bit on what's new today with today's topics and what's going to be new in the series for the next weeks to go on. But as the actual broadcast progresses, a basic agenda that we kind of go through. Again, if you're new, this is kind of for you, but if you're not, it's just to kind of keep you in step of what's lining up here for the rest of the day. We'll go through again what's new. We're going to look at some weekly updates and reminders, kind of what I really have looked at as your tips of the week, your main focus points of the week that you really want to dive into as the week goes on. I don't know about you, but I have probably 1,000 emails that I read as the week goes on, and probably 500 more over the weekend as well too. I'm just going to really kind of highlight a couple of those top 2 or 3 that we really want to make sure that we stay focused on, as well as even some training things that are going to be coming up as the week goes on as well too. We'll dive in real quick to some of the sales leaders and to give some kudos for the month of January. I've actually got the end of January statistics. You guys have been doing an outstanding job. I work with a lot of different carriers, a lot of different organizations, and AHCP is killing it. The numbers that I'm seeing right now that are being put up, you guys are getting out there, and everybody deserves a round of applause, whether it be on the contracting side, whether it be upstairs in our agency services team and the agents that are on the ground. We are all together just putting out something that is amazing right now. The numbers that I'm seeing are just blowing me out of the water. And then, of course, last but not least, we will dive into today's sales technique / tips. So, like I said, real quick, what's new? What's new as far as today is concerned is we are going to be launching a brand new series today. It's going to be a 4-part series, and that series is really going to kind of allow you to put into affect today, some really good practical steps that you can utilize to keep your sale moving forward, to get to that final yes answer, and then to move on and to have a really positive experience at the same time. So we're going to really kind of start with that first step today, is that what you really need to do to make that sale continue to move forward. And then again, as the weeks go on, we'll have about a 4-part series that we're going to launch out into as those weeks go on. A quick reminder, next week, unfortunately, we do not have a Motivation Monday. It's going to be an off week for me. I'm actually going to be traveling, and my partner Dan is traveling as well too on the other training side. I am trying to see if we can possibly do something next week, but definitely keep an eye on your emails. If there's any changes on that, I will let you know. Something else that I'm actually utilizing at the end of each broadcast here is you're all going to be getting a follow-up survey at the end of the broadcast. Usually comes in about an hour or two afterwards. I believe it's actually set about 2 hours or so. Something that we had turned off, and I don't know about you, I do not like getting emails constantly all day long. I know that everybody gets hundreds and hundreds of them, but really this series is for us. This is for us to really kind of start off the week on a positive note, and I want to be able to do things that you want to see. I don't want to waste 30, 45 minutes of your time. I want to put out some topics. I want to put out some tips that are really going to benefit everybody. So I really enjoy that ongoing feedback loop that I'm getting from everybody. Just to get the series to where it is now, the feedback loop has been amazing. You guys are just feeding me with a bunch of information that is outstanding. Again, next week, I'm going to feature some of the main overall January leaders as far as individuals are concerned. We are going to jump into some of those today a little bit, but I'm going to actually focus on the carrier side of things as far as the top carriers for the month of January are concerned. And then, of course, more changes to come as the weeks go on. So keep your eyes open. And, it really kind of is a really positive way to start the week off. I hope everybody has an opportunity to join me each week. Now, on to our more upgraded section of our updates and reminders. So one of the things that you get in your email each week is something to remind you that on the AHCPsales.com site, there's something called the newsstand that they've actually upgraded and actually rolled out this year. So this month, within the newsletter itself, they're going to be going over a featured product. They are still highlighting the new AHCP upgraded lead portal. They're going to actually focus on a carrier. Of course, they do dive into each of the ongoing sales incentives. Like last week, for example, covered the fact that the NatGen sales incentive is still out there, still going strong. So if you guys want to get to Cabo, get out there and push those NatGen supplements. That's still going to be going on for quite some time. So just as a quick reminder, that newsstand is going to be something that you can utilize on a weekly basis to kind of get out there and take a look at some of those postings. Now, on that same note, though, if you take a look at hcpsales.com, up in that right corner is that link to the blog area. And that blog area is going to have all this information in it, some individual actual articles, that some really helpful articles that, even if you've been in the industry 15, 20 plus years, these are going to be some articles that are going to help you really kind of continue to put those pieces together. And, and it might not even be something that you've thought about for a while. They go, oh yeah, you know what? I hadn't remembered that. That's actually some really good information. A couple of weeks back, they focused on a couple different ways to think about HSAs in general, and I really found that article myself, and I'm very familiar with HSAs. I actually a very big advocate of HSAs, for example, and I found some information in there to be super, super helpful. So all credit to the blog posters with the information that's being posted in there as well too. Again, something that they've actually highlighted this week is really kind of a creative way to get individual clients. They did a post open enrollment period, kind of a powwow, and they kind of go over some things that they've learned in the 2019 open enrollment season, and it really kind of focuses on a really good creative way to get some individual clients. Take a look at those articles. Again, it's up in the blog area, it's in the newsstand area as well too, in the email that comes out. On that same token, within the AHCP sales area, up in the top middle, there is a link to the training calendar. The training calendar is going to be upgraded, and a lot more material is going to be added as the year goes on. My desire and my overall goal for us as an individual unit company here is I really want to put some training materials out that are going to really benefit you and show you what you can do as an individual to enhance your sales, what things that you can do now, not just necessarily theory. I love to teach theory. Theory is amazing. It's the foundation, and it's the bedrock of the sales process. But in general, what I like to teach is really kind of what's in it for you right now. What can we do at this moment you can pick up the phone once we get off this broadcast and you can make another sale and things that you can implement right now. So keep a look at this training calendar. This training calendar is going to highlight a lot of some really good training topics and webinar series that are going to be coming out. On that same note, an upcoming product training that's going to be happening this week. Health Depot is going to be here. They're going to actually go over this individual product training. I believe, let's see here, this is going to be on Friday. Oh, nope, Wednesday, February 7th. So that is this week, February 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So what they're going to do is go over some of the highlights of the planned in and of itself. So make sure that you take a look at your email. There is a link within the email that you can click on that you can go and register. You can also visit the training calendar within AHCPsales.com. There is a link on the February 7th date there as well too that you can utilize and sign up. So likewise, with inside that training calendar, you can also, if you happen to miss me this week or last week, you can go in there and you can re-see the Motivation Mondays. I highly encourage you is if you do not watch anything else during the week, at least take 15 or 20 minutes and go through and watch the Monday morning meeting. It really kind of benefits you to highlight and see those tips of the week, those actual weekly updates, and it really gets you kind of motivated and pumped up. If you need a 15-minute re-energizing session, go ahead and take a look at some of these past Motivation Mondays just to kind of re-energize yourself. And then even on the product side, inside the training area, there's a different product training catalog as well too. If you take a look, there's all the Colorado Bankers Life trainings, the Alira, the Meritas, even goes over things like the General Agent Center. So there's some really good materials that are located inside that training area. And then of course, the lead portal tutorials, and then this individual trainings. What I'm actually going to be utilizing as well too is we're going to be taking the individual sales topics out of each week's Monday morning meeting. We're going to kind of condense those a little bit and put those into some micro learning lessons that you can actually then utilize and take those, and we're going to upload those into the training area. So keep an eye out in here as well too. This actual library is going to get immensely big as the weeks and the months go on. So on to our next section, we're going to talk about some of the sales leaders and our kudos for the week. So for January 2019, like I said, it has been an amazing, to the end of the year of 2018 was outstanding, but just even pushing into January, now that January is wrapped up, there was a lot of business, a lot of numbers that were put up on the board. On the accident side, NHIC led the way the entire month. So outstanding job pushing those NHIC accident plans. Golden Rule and Assurant still up there in the top 3. On the limited med side and the short-term med side, NHIC is still holding strong. It's an amazing product. Don't get me wrong. I see no reason why that shouldn't be in the top spot each month, each week even. But, Golden Rule was there as well too on the short-term side. Not a problem either. Golden Rule has an amazing product as well too. But on the Medicare side, United Healthcare actually led the way the entire month and at the end of 2018 with their Medicare Advantage plan. Aetna, Humana, Cigna were out there with some of the main leaders on the carrier side as well too. And then on the dental side, again, NHIC is out there. They have an amazing dental product as well too that you can add on while you're doing those bundlings. And Golden Rule was on top with dental as well too. So as far as carrier overviews are concerned, at least for the beginning of the year, some really, really good carriers to actually take a look at and make sure if you're not already contracted with them, make sure that these are going to be carriers that you're going to be putting in your top 3 or 4 back pocket carriers to make sure that they are on the list for the next year. Now, on the sales leader side, for the prior week, since we're about a week back usually, this is going to be for the week of January 21st to the 27th. On the accident side, we have Kent, Cody, and Kendra. Kendra, you actually jumped up on the board this week. Excellent job. Outstanding. Last week, Cody and Kent and Shams were on there, but you guys are doing outstanding work. Like I said, the amount of dollars that I'm seeing put up on the board right now are just tremendous. So you guys are out there just killing it. On the limited med side, again, Kent, you are just pushing it. Just outstanding work. Katya and Jay as well. Last week, we had Daniel and Christine. You guys are doing an amazing job as well, too. Like I said, the numbers that I'm seeing just freaking blowing me out of the water. On our short-term side, we have Katya, Aaron, and Mark. Katya, I like seeing your name on the board. You were just putting out some amazing numbers this year. At the end of January, well, technically January is already ended, but since the statistics take about a week or so to come out, next Monday's meeting that we do, or when that actually does happen, if it's 2 weeks from now, we are going to go ahead and highlight, we're going to start to highlight the monthly sales leaders as far as the month is concerned and who actually put up those top dollars. So keep an eye out for that as well too. Now, new category here a little bit, since I'm really kind of focused heavily on the Medicare side, I do want to give some really good kudos and shout outs to our Medicare sellers. Tamala, Phyllis, and Alan, you guys are out there putting up some really big numbers. Tamala, the amount of Medicare sales that I'm seeing that you put up on the board, at least within the last week, are just outstanding. So if you're not already touching base with some of these Medicare people, you know, reach out to your fellow Medicare sales agents and see what they're doing. See what they're actually doing right now during the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period to see if you can actually utilize some of their tips and actually get those into play. Now, on that same note though, those tips that we're talking about and the sales techniques. So, you know, as the weeks go on, like I said, I really want to focus heavily on things that you can actually do now at this point. You can get off of our broadcast and be like, you know what, that's an outstanding point. I need to make sure that I'm putting that into practice now. There, as you can see here, that if you're on the webinar with us or if you're joining on phone, I apologize, but I'll kind of explain what we're looking at here is, you know, I put up about 6, 7 different books, sales books. You know, you've got your common Zig Ziglar books out there, you've got William Murray, and you've got Getting to Yes, you've got the sales funnels, you've got How to Sell Anything, How to Get the No funnel. You know, there are so many different, I don't like to use the word trends because a trend is something that could potentially go away, but there are so many different ideas that are out there in the sales market. It's really kind of hard to figure out which one to grasp onto, right? Do you take 15 from one book and 1 from another? Or do you take 1 from this book and 15 from another? It doesn't really know. But to be honest, I can't tell you which one to take. Only you know your best way to sell. Obviously, though, that theory behind the selling, the fundamentals behind the selling, those are going to be your basis and those roots of where you need to start. But even if you know that theory of where to start and those fundamentals are strong there, you need to really get to that final goal. And that final step and that final goal is how to get to that yes word. So how do you keep that sale moving forward to the next step, and how do you get to that yes? You know, one of the things that I struggled with when I was first getting into sales is that I'm a very analytical person. I like to show my client what's in it for them. But unfortunately, I would get bogged down in the weeds because I would be going into immense amounts of details on the product. Now, that's not to say that the client didn't find it beneficial. But the problem, though, is that in and of itself, even though I wasn't really technically saying at that point, I was still conveying a message of kind of boredom in a way, you know, 20 minutes of going over the product. Now, if the client is engaged and they're interested and you've got a really kind of extroverted personality that wants to talk, they really want to get technical with you, they want to get into those weeds, that's fine. But I would find myself going into the weeds with everybody because I really thought that they needed to know. And while there are individuals out there that do need to know that information, not everybody does. So what you have to realize at that point is you have to be able to know how to take that next step and keep that sale moving forward. And there's a couple keys to that. The keys as far as getting it from a no to turning it into a yes, I do want to buy, or yes, go ahead and sign me up. You really kind of figure out what the objective is and what you're actually doing. And the word objective in and of itself can be very subjective in a way, right? So if you kind of figure it out, you ask yourself, what is the objective of a sale? So, I mean, an objective, a lot of people will come back with like, okay, well, the objective is to get the order, it's to get the sale. Or let's say that you are in a situation where your objective is to meet people face to face. Your objective on that phone call is to meet the person face to face, or just really kind of understand the client. Or your objective would be to ask questions if you're in the questioning phase, or of course, the main objective is to close the sale. Sometimes establish rapport, or people will even have an individual objective of planting seeds for a future relationship with that individual or that individual's larger corporation entity. So while all of those are correct answers, that's actually not the primary answer. The primary answer of what the objective is isn't to necessarily get the sale. The objective isn't to necessarily, you know, make sure that you plant that seed. The objective for you is to keep the sale moving forward. Again, and you have to kind of think of this in a really kind of holistic umbrella way. Objective, again, it can be very subjective. I mean, objective on many different levels, depending upon where you're at in the sales process, or what we're going to talk about here in a second of what phase you're in the sales process. That objective can be different, right? But the overarching emphasis and the overarching objective of any process within the sales industry, whether you're in the beginning phase or the closing phase, is to make sure that you keep that sale moving forward. Don't allow that sale to stall out. Don't get stuck in the weeds giving too much product information. Show them what's in it for them, and then move forward in that process. So what you really have to identify then is to making sure that you are focusing on the objective to keep it moving forward, is you have to understand the sales phases. Now, again, there's 15, 20, 30, maybe even 100,000 books out there about sales, selling in general, and the different phases of selling. And the things that I've seen over throughout the years is there's really only 4 primary phases to the whole sales process in general, right? You've got your opening. The opening, and that can be sometimes even a face-to-face meeting. That opening can be that an individual cold call. That opening could be the individual, the lead that you're taking out of the lead system. But that specific opening is where you need to start. And depending upon what phase you're in, whether that is that opening phase, or you're in the next phase, the interviewing or the information gathering phase, or you're in, let's say that you're after that, you're in the presentation, you're presenting the product to them, and then you're even in that last final phase, which is the sale phase. All that you have to really need to understand is you have to realize where you're at, which specific phase that you're in, and then making sure that you're keeping that sale moving forward. Now, the individual process here, as far as the phases and individual, objectives of making sure that the sale continues to keep moving forward, it can be a lengthy process at times. And those processes at times, you can understandably kind of get caught in the mud, but you have to continuously be thinking in and of yourself inside, okay, I need to take a step here. I need to continue to move this sale forward. So, it's really kind of a 3 or 4-fold process of really kind of identifying specifically where you're at, and then taking that identifying process and then moving forward with it. So the main thing to really understand out of all of this is those 4 primary phases, as far as the opening, the interviewing, the presentation, and that sale phase. You have to understand that there are a lot of strategies that come and go. Just like some of the best-selling books that are out there, there's a lot of new tools that are out there. There's a lot of new technologies. You could probably go through books where they name 25, 30 different sales strategies, like, lead with what's in it for them, making sure that you're articulating those end results, look at niche markets, be flexible, connect with the decision maker in the household, perfect the sales pitch. While those are all good strategies, you always have to remember that objective is to keep the sale moving forward. If you're getting stuck and the process is not moving forward and you have not taken that next step, you're not meeting your overall objective. And that's really the simple principle of today's lesson. Make sure that you're always realizing what that objective is to continue to move it forward, and you'll always end up being successful if you're making conscious decisions to take the next step to continue process forward. So if you have any questions about today's webinar, if you have any questions about prior webinars, I want you to reach out to us at training@ahcpsales.com, or again, as I always say, you can always reach upstairs to our amazing agency services at 877-228-8773. I do want to thank everybody for joining us today. Cheers, everybody.